Hello, this is Michael Hexter. Welcome to my Politics 2100 video cast here on YouTube. So I'm calling this episode Grassroots, in quotation marks, anti-vax sentiment creates political cannon fodder for sociopathic GOP leaders. So what I'm doing in this episode is reframing uh, discussions in the media and also by political leaders about the COVID-19 anti-vax campaign, essentially, by the GOP and by right-wing media. And I think that it's becoming normalized in a way that I want to instead to pathologize and say this is something that is and I'm not alone in doing this at all. And there are varying degrees to which people in the media, in the liberal or mainstream media that tends toward the sort of center left, or at least that's what its audience is, and though it makes efforts to appeal to the right wing, so it's not entirely partisan. But anyway, but also even in sort of declared progressive blogosphere and vlogosphere and internet media sites and here on YouTube and elsewhere. So what I'm trying to do is sharpen what is the view of what's going on, and this is a reaction to and I'll put the link in the description box, reaction to the finding that deaths from COVID-19 are about 7 times higher in the very highest or the very reddest counties, and as regard, in relationship to the very bluest counties right now. Now, this is not a prescription to ease up in the blue counties, especially with the oncoming Omicron variant. But we want to highlight that this campaign by GOP leadership, people like Ron DeSantis, like Abbott in Texas, all of these political leaders in the GOP who are chiming in against, for instance, the quote-unquote vaccine mandate of Biden, are engaged in a political campaign that uses their voters as cannon fodder, okay, as unwilling, or unconscious, certainly, maybe not unwilling, but they are unaware of the danger that they're placing themselves in by following these misleaders, and they are sociopathic. So they're sociopathic. This is the sharpening that I'm engaging in this video. They are basically putting other people at risk for their own benefit, okay, and they're putting them at risk for a narrow political win, okay, and these people are not, for instance, soldiers who are, have signed up for to sacrifice themselves or potentially sacrifice themselves for their country, but these are people who have been duped into believing that the vaccine is dangerous relative to catching COVID, and they think there's some benefit to catching COVID that is superior to getting vaccinated. There's a whole series of rationalizations for their essentially self-endangerment for the benefit of these leaders, okay? And leaders that they, in some cases, are not even so committed to. I mean, there is for instance, the idea that Donald Trump is this figure of great adoration on the right, but at the same time, we have there was a rally over the weekend in Florida where Trump which was ill attended, and Trump actually hesitated to go out. He was having a likely some kind of a fit, and he was hesitating to go out because the crowd was smaller than he had wanted, and that they had the upper decks, that they upgraded people in order to try to create a big enough crowd at the around the podium so that he would feel like it was something of a large event. And this was with Bill O'Reilly, formerly of Fox News. So we have so even the commitment to the sentiment, the true sentiment for Trump has sort of become a little bit attenuated. And the theory is, and I'll share a video in the link, the Young Turks video, where Cenk speculates that this has to do with the fact that these are no longer people are no longer present in that they've been deplatformed, and being deplatformed in some sense creates or cuts the cord, so to speak, between the base and the leadership. But anyway, still we have these results where basically there's this bubble in the media, and there's a bubble around of discourse around the right-wing base that is inducing them to become cannon fodder in this fight, but cannon fodder not in any glorious sense, not with any sense that they're fighting. They are in fact they are fighting by not getting vaccinated and therefore being infected by a potentially dangerous pathogen, or a dangerous pathogen, and then some of them are dying from it. And so, and this is often in largely or partially in ignorance of the effects of the vaccine and also the effects of the virus itself. So, so this is a monstrous, an absolutely monstrous development that, and I mean, the thing is that it's been normalized. So I'm not announcing anything new. This is not new news to anybody who's been following the news. I'm simply trying to highlight the ethical and psychological deficits that are being displayed in the leaders of the Republican Party and the leaders of the right-wing media, that they are so willing to serve their own interests above the lives of the people who either pay them or vote for them, or or watch or are create Nielsen ratings that allow them to get money from advertisers for their for the ads that are being bought on their channels, or subscription fees from the cable news providers, cable owners, the owners of different cable systems. So anyway, this is just really it should be something that is reported on with the sharpness that I am, or a similar sharpness that I'm trying to highlight in this video. That it's not, there's not a grassroots, it's a concocted sentiment. There is actual, I mean, there has been anti-vax sentiment on and off among certain groups of people, but it's become so inflated by political operatives that is now, let's say there are 40-50 million people in the United States who are questioning vaccines overall, and they're questioning that the benefit of getting vaccinated, for any disease. And this was previously maybe a a few million people who had these from across the political spectrum with different with different political backgrounds. But anyway, it's being turbocharged, okay, by political ambition and political greed, and so this message should be being sent out by the Democratic Party and by the media. Now they're independent; they shouldn't be coordinating with each other. But unfortunately, in our system, the media becomes sort of the permission, gives the permission slips in a way sometimes to political leaders to speak in a certain way and so forth and so on, and vice versa. So it's a loop, okay, or a feedback loop between the two politically powerful institutions. But anyway, the monstrousness of basically sacrificing hundreds of thousands of people, on the backs of anti-vax and anti-mask sentiment, needs to be continually brought to the fore, and it is also working against the trend in the media to soft pedal the sociopathy of people like Donald Trump and the Republican Party, to try to their forays into shaming them, okay, or into tutting them, but it's the systematic avoidance of or the avoidance of noticing the systematic nature of their self-interest and as against their role as public servants or as communicators to the public in terms of providing quote unquote news to the public, and essentially bilking or misleading, maybe is the wrong word, is the right word, misleading the public to think that they're getting information when they're getting propaganda by organizations such as Fox News. So anyway, I wanted to highlight this in this video just to put down a marker, and I will return to it as news continues to develop in this area. And it's not new news that I'm offering here. I'm simply offering a frame saying, or a reiteration of this very, very strange, probably historically unique situation of where a political faction and its media allies are sending people to their deaths without them knowing that they're doing this for the benefit of this political faction. And just to remind you, they're simply trying to do damage to Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Biden look bad by halting or by slowing down the pandemic response, and slowing down the pandemic response means more and more deaths. And so anyway, so this attempt to, now I'm not a huge fan of Joe Biden. I voted for him, but I'm not. I think that he leaves a lot to be desired as a political leader. He's much preferable to Donald Trump and anybody the Republicans would field anytime in probably ever in the future. But anyway, he is not above criticism. But in the area of the pandemic response, his efforts are far preferable to those of the Republicans. So and the efforts to damage him are really efforts to damage the whole enterprise of public health, and which should be nonpartisan, shouldn't be about the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party, but the Republican Party has decided that public health is something that can be sacrificed for their own ambitions. And and this is not surprising, given the evolution of the Republican Party, given the neoliberal era in which public health is in some sense anathema to the fundamental neoliberal project, which started on the right wing and now is sort of infected both establishment parties in the United States in their thinking. But at least the Democrats are in this area mounting some defense of public health and at least trying to institute a fairly rational public health response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So anyway, I just wanted to put this out there. Please let me know if you have any thoughts about this particular reframing of the situation now, and that also that if you think also that in the news media they should be talking more about the motivation. It's there, in my view, talking about COVID-19 misinformation is in a way a symptom of the disease. The disease being a denial of science and a denial of public health, and the role of government to protect people from, in this case, an infectious disease. So, and that's the fundamental disease that or not the symptom, but the actual underlying cause of why that COVID misinformation is so rampant. It's not an organic, or it's only organic in very small clusters, but it has become magnified by the political ambitions of the GOP, and they should be they should be excoriated for this by media accounts, and also the Democrats in their own way should be touting their response and how much more preferable their approach is than that of the Republicans. And unfortunately, they have been very, very hesitant to attack the Republicans for reasons that I've discussed in previous videos and will continue to discuss in upcoming videos. So if you're liking this video, please like the video, and if you are enjoying Politics 2100, please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.